Well, hello and welcome to this week's video that I'm going to start with a question. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you. You've worked really hard to create a nice life, dutifully checking all of the boxes, right? The right boxes. Kids are on track, finances are in order. You've even managed to get yourself to the gym every once in a while, right? You might do a soul cycle here and there. You are a multitasking maven, just killing it. You're killing it in your life. And do you ever think that you should be just a little bit happier than you actually are? Do you feel guilty that perhaps from the outside it looks like you have figured it out? You have it all. And yet inside, you really don't feel the way that you want to feel or not the way that you thought that you would feel. My name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I am a relationship expert and the founder of the Real Love Revolution. So welcome to your Real Love Revolution video. Are you secretly unhappy? The reason I'm doing this video is because this is a phenomenon, my friend. Do you think you should be enjoying yourself a little bit more than you are? Stressing a little bit less than you are? And really ask yourself an honest question. When is the last time that you felt peaceful, fulfilled, satisfied, inspired? Can you even remember? So I want to give you some idea of what are the different symptoms. If you're feeling these things, then yes, you are secretly sort of unhappy, and we're going to figure out how to change that. So don't worry, it's not like a depressing video. So you may ask yourself, why can't I just be happy? So sort of putting down, or instead of looking at or being curious about what you're actually not happy about, making yourself wrong. Like, well, why can't I just be happy? I have the 2.2 kids. I've got the husband. I've got the house. I have money. I have friends. I'm on the PTO or whatever it is that you do. But what I care about is if you're actually just not happy or feeling satisfied inside. So much of my clientele that I've seen over the many years are very high functioning, powerful women who still have the disease to please. Now, this is a phrase that was coined by an amazing, brilliant psychotherapist years ago. Her name is Harriet Breaker. She is now deceased, R.I.P. Harriet, but her work has heavily influenced my work. And the disease to please is something that is so common, it still happens today. So there's 4 questions I'm just going to ask you to think about. Do you say yes when you really want to say no? Do you apologize often? More like a social KY, should we say, even though that's a pretty crude way of saying it, but you get what I'm saying, rather than when you're actually sorry, right? To smooth things over, do you apologize often? Not only when you're not sorry, but probably when you're pissed. Do you avoid a confrontation at all costs? So it doesn't mean you don't get your way, it just means you don't do it directly. Even if you know you have something to say, do you just avoid it? And the last thing is, do you prioritize everyone else's needs above your own? So if you said yes to, I can't imagine that you didn't say yes to 3 or more of those, but if you said yes to 2 or more, then you have the disease to please. And this is something that, listen, it's not terminal, right? Once you're aware of it, there's something that you can do about it, but you have to get honest with yourself about how badly you actually have it. So I want you to start being mindful of how you are in the world. So I'm going to ask you to do an experiment where you're basically writing down, look at those 4 questions, which don't worry, they'll be in the blog, you'll be able to see them. Look at those 4 questions, which is, how many times did you want to apologize, or did you apologize in a day when you actually weren't sorry? Write it down. What conversations do you know you need to have, but it's a confrontation in your mind and you're afraid to do it, or you just don't know how to do it, so you're just not doing it? Write those things down. Decide that maybe you're not going to always prioritize everyone else's needs above your own, because I promise you that the only place that that train goes is to the land of bitterness. That's it. When you have little kids, of course we have to prioritize what they need over what we need, obviously, duh. But it's something that becomes so habituated in our behavior that it's like you never get back to thinking about what you need, what you want, what are your priorities, how do you feel? And the 2 things, so the 2 things that I find are very deeply connected to women who work their butts off, are very successful, and from the outside look like they have everything, and on the inside feel unsatisfied. There's two major areas that we need to actually get involved with, which is their relationship to fear and their relationship to pleasure. So I'm actually going to include as a download for you, it's the fear and pleasure download, so that you can answer these questions and really see how your own relationship to these things, because they're actually connected. If you came from a family system where prioritizing your pleasure would be looked down upon, would seem silly, would seem frivolous, would seem selfish. That's the biggest one, I feel like, with women, is that most women are afraid to be perceived as being selfish or self-centered, or many. I'm not saying all. I can only, you guys, I can only tell you my experience with my practice and the demographic that I have. And maybe it's the type of person I am as well. I mean, I have my own struggles with these types of things, which is why I write about them and because I'm interested in it. So I want you to download, go to the link, click it, and download your pleasure and fear blueprint and answer those questions. And I'll go over a few of them now, but I'm not going to do the whole thing because it's kind of long and we can't do it in I don't know how long this video will be. How long is it now? Okay. Yeah. So let's start with pleasure. You're starting to think about, how was leisure time or pleasurable activities regarded in your family of origin where you grew up? Was there like a high priority put on fun, relaxation, or was it not important, or was it looked down upon? Was there any kind of work-life balance in the home that you were raised? Or was it all work? Was there any just having fun simply because something is fun? Like, were you allowed to do that, or did that seem frivolous? Did either of your parents practice self-care? Right? In the way of getting massages, facials, things that would potentially be considered frivolous, or I guess you'd have to have expendable cash to do those things, but there's lots of things that you could do if you valued that wouldn't cost money. Did your parents do any of those things? So I want you to, part of what you're going to be doing in this downloaded exercise is writing down the way it was in your home. You're going to be journaling about it, because the way that your family was around pleasure and fun has, of course, profoundly impacted the way that you are around prioritizing your pleasure, which is part of the problem. If you have everything, quote unquote, on the outside, and in the inside, you don't feel satisfied or happy. The next thing we're going to look at is fear. How was your family around fear? So what was the culture around fear? Did your parents view the world as a safe and benevolent place, or did they view the world as a scary and dangerous place? Right? Because this all impacts your relationship to fear now. Are either of your parents or caregivers, are they worriers? Were they worriers when you grew up? Are you a worrier? Would you consider yourself someone who frets about things, who's always worrying about what may or may not happen in the future? Was fear used to control you in your childhood? Right? If you don't do well in school, then you're not going to be successful. You're going to be homeless. Right? Or if you go out with a wet head, you'll catch pneumonia, which of course is not necessarily always true. I think a lot of parents use that one though. Were your parents aware of their fears and working towards changing them or making it better? Did they have that self-awareness? Or in therapy land, we would say, insight into their issues? Or no? Were they sort of in denial about the dysfunctional part of them, the way that fear did or didn't drive them? And what areas of your life do you think that fear is blocking you the most? So when you answer these questions, you're actually going to get a really clear visual of how fear and pleasure are related in your downloaded limiting blueprints. And the next step is basically unpacking that and making different choices. And I think that the guilt, feeling very guilty about taking care of yourself, even though you're taking care of everyone else as well, there's this flow through line of guilt that if you do take care of yourself or prioritize, then you're not a good mom, not a good wife, I don't know, but I can promise you that that isn't true. And that by not taking care of yourself, by not filling up your own bucket, the truth is we have nothing to give others, which is how we end up in bitter land, right? We end up martyred and pissed because it can only happen for so long until you just don't give a shit, until you're just so done. And the thing is, you have this horrific thing happening in your mind that because you haven't shared it with anyone, no one even knows is happening for you. So it's never going to get better within the family system or within your marriage if no one even knows that you feel this way, right? This is a problem. So, moving on to another piece of this that I think is really important, and it's some of the work that my girlfriend Danielle Laporte does. Sorry, somehow I just want to make sure that my sound is right. Oh God, you guys. Got to think of content and technological things as well. Why don't you seem like you're right? Anyway, moving on. What I was going to say about Danielle Laporte is that she has this amazing book called The Desire Map. And Danielle's theory, and I agree, we use different language, but it's a similar thing, is that we think that things, external things, things outside of ourselves, acquiring things, even a family, children, a home, a house, a second house, a vacation house, lots of money, gifts, jewels, I don't know. We think that a lifestyle will create a feeling. And listen, I think all of us do this. I was a talent agent and was chasing this feeling that I completely thought for sure was going to be on the end of that job. And when I finally got to the job where it had to be that job, like if any job was going to give me the feeling, it was going to be that one, and the feeling wasn't there, I realized, wow, I've been going about this all wrong. So the desire map lays it out so incredibly clearly about how to back into everything you want by figuring out the way that you want to feel. So you prioritize your feelings. And I mean, my number one core desired feelings, as Dee would say, is freedom. That's my number one feeling. And so everything I do and every commitment I make and every choice I make, I think, is this going to make me free? And if the answer is yes, and even if it means I won't be free for 2 years because I'm committing to this thing, if eventually I will have more freedom from doing this thing, I will do this thing. So keep in mind, we're looking for these things that we want in our lives, assuming they will make us feel a certain way. But we don't know that for sure. And so I just want to encourage you to check out the Desire Map. No other reason than it really, really helped me to see it in black and white. And this is a way that you can make, Danielle would call them goals with soul. Make decisions about what you're going to do and what you're going to say based on how you want to feel. And really deciding, will doing this make me feel this way? And again, when we're raising children and doing the obligations of being wives and mothers and those types of things. Listen, raising children did not make me feel free, right? But I wanted to do that because being with Vic made me feel free. And then falling in love with the boys made me feel free. But it isn't like some of our core desired feelings. The immediate thing that we're doing, being mothers and wives, if that's what you're doing, are not going to necessarily give you those things. But there's a way to do the things that you want, whether it's your career, whether it's your marriage, whether it's raising kids, with more freedom. Right? Because that's my core desire. So you'll have to figure out what yours is. And then there's a way to bring that into everything that you're doing. Because here's the thing, you guys, I say this all the time, and you know it's true. Like, life is short, man. It's not going to be forever. So don't waste another second of your youth and your beauty being silently unhappy, suffering silently, where nothing will change unless you change. Unless you change it, unless you speak up, unless you change your mind, unless you give yourself a break, unless you prioritize your pleasure, right? That's when things change. So it's on you, and I'm just here to inspire you and coach you, and I will be the one who is cheering you on like a wild maniac. So, if you like this video, please don't forget to download so you can get all the information that you need. Please share it on social media. Make sure that you are signed up on my YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Go to terricole.com for a whole bunch of other free stuff, meditations, and everything you want. I hope you have an amazingly beautiful week taking care of you.